If you've ever been on a plane, you know that there are very strict rules on board to make sure that everyone is safe. But that doesn't keep strange events from happening. Just wait until you see which animal people are allowed to bring on board. If this is your first time visiting our channel, don't forget to subscribe and please give this video a big thumbs up. Today, we are showing you the 10 craziest things people have done on planes. Babies in overhead bins. Overhead bins are the perfect place to put your bags to make sure they don't get in your way. And you can put babies there too. Actually, this is what you were supposed to do in the 50s. Baby seats used to hang from the overhead compartment. The parents had the chance to enjoy the flight sitting comfortably in their seats while their babies slept above their heads. Unfortunately, it didn't provide enough safety for the child in the occasion of turbulence. The parents now have to buy seats for their children or let them sit in their laps for free. But people still put babies in overhead bins nowadays, and it's certainly not a good thing to do. In 2011, a flight attendant from the Australian airline Virgin Blue was fired for that. They saw a little boy playing peekaboo with his father and tried to do something to make him laugh. The flight attendant picked him up and put him in the locker. Unfortunately, no one thought that was funny as the mother was crying, the father was in shock, and the boy suffered from anxiety and withdrawal. The flight attendant was fired and will probably never try to do something a little crazy to make a child smile. We could say that understanding what to do and not to do with the child was over their head. Flight attendants in overhead bins. When there are many passengers on the plane, you might feel like there is not enough place for your bag in these lockers. But actually, there is enough place for a person to lock themselves there. You might not see a passenger doing it during a flight, but flight attendants love to climb into the overhead baggage compartment. It's actually part of the initiation of China's Kunming Airlines flight crew. After 30 to 50 hours of service, their co-workers forced them into lockers. When the airline found out about this, they said that they attached high importance to the incident and would make sure it doesn't happen again. However, they weren't there to listen to the new flight attendants who complained that they didn't want to take part in this ritual. They felt like they had to do this to be part of the group, even if they were not comfortable with the idea of breaking the rules. Fortunately for most of them, this was just spare time joking with each other, and the crew was very harmonious. You can see many flight attendants from different airlines posting pictures of themselves in overhead bins on Instagram, and it really is surprising to see these serious flight attendants acting this way. We understand that after a 12-hour flight, everyone deserves to have some fun. Scorpions on board. When you're on a plane, you think that you're in a safe and clean environment. With so many rules and safety measures, everything had to be taken into consideration, right? But don't think that you are safe from scorpions just because you're up in the air. With United Airlines, these creatures can fly. In a flight from Houston to Calgary, a passenger was stung by a scorpion. The creature fell from the overhead bin and landed on a man's hair while he was eating his lunch. It fell on the dinner table, and as he was trying to grab it by the tail, the venomous creature stung him. The scorpion ended up in the alley where the flight attendants caught it and flushed it down the toilet. They immediately consulted a MedLink physician on the ground to make sure that the man was safe, and medical staff were there to take care of him as soon as the plane landed. It's not clear how this scorpion even got on this plane, but many people believe that it came from Costa Rica, as the plane was in the city the same day. You might think that this man is really unlucky after being stung by a scorpion on a flight in the United States, but he is not the only one. Another scorpion was found on another United Airlines flight. So unless you like these little creatures, you might want to travel with another airline while they find a solution to this problem. The emergency slide. We understand that after a 12-hour flight, the crew is really tired. They might have the chance to sleep in beds in the rest area, but this is not enough for most of these hard workers. And one United Airlines flight attendant felt like she didn't even want to do this job anymore when she exited the plane. After a routine landing, she just decided to use the emergency slide to get out of the plane. She just opened the door, inflated the slide, dropped her bag, and slid down herself. Most people will never see that inflatable slide in their lives, so it was really surprising to see her using it so casually. No one understands why she did that, except if she really wanted to stop working and was too shy to tell her boss that she wanted to quit. So according to this theory, she should be happy to hear that she had been fired. But she is not even the first one who did that. Years before, a JetBlue employee announced over the plane's intercom that a passenger had abused him before saying that he was leaving his job and making his creative exit on the slide. We don't know what's wrong with these flight attendants, but when we see how they react, we think that we should treat them in a better way. The smelly poo. It usually takes something really important for a plane to make an emergency landing, like a fire, a dangerous technical difficulty, or any life-threatening situation. But someone never thought that going to the bathroom would cause so much trouble during a British Airways flight. During a 7-hour flight from Heathrow to Dubai, the plane was in the air for only 30 minutes when the pilot requested to see the senior cabin crew. Passengers knew that something was wrong, but they never expected it to be that. It turns out that an excrement was smelling so bad that a quite pungent smell was coming out of one of the toilets. As only 50% of the air is recycled and cleaned, it became a health and safety problem. This is why they decided to return to safety and comfort, going back to the airport to make an emergency landing. As the next flight was only 15 hours later, all the passengers were provided with hotel accommodation before they rescheduled the flight to depart the next day. We can't imagine how mortified the person was, and we can't help but feel sorry for their roommates who have to go through that every day. They'll probably never want to use the public restroom for a number 2 again. Who thought that poo could cause so much trouble? Snakes on a plane. No, this is not only a movie, but also almost a documentary. In 2016, in an Aero-Mexico flight, a large snake fell from overhead mid-flight. It was spotted on the ceiling when someone decided to film it. People sitting around it immediately unbuckled themselves to stand away from it before the green reptile fell on the floor. Surprisingly, the passengers didn't sound really horrified. People were able to trap it in blankets, and a co-pilot wasn't afraid to handle the animal that wasn't so small after all. The plane was then given priority landing at its destination so that passengers could be evacuated and the animal control workers could come on board. The airline doesn't understand how the animal even got on board, but they are investigating to prevent this from happening again. But once again, this was not the last time a snake decided to go on vacation. In 2017, a passenger brought a snake on an Alaskan flight and forgot it on board after he left the plane. So they knew the animal was there, but didn't know where it was. It's a little boy who found it, and instead of panicking, most people wanted to see it. A flight attendant was able to catch it, put it in a bag, and put it in the overhead bin for the rest of the flights. Now that you know about all these incidents, do you still want to go on board? We think we'll travel by car instead. A child hidden in a carry-on bag. We have heard a lot of stories about people trying to find a way to travel for free, and we have to admit that we also made a joke saying that we wanted our friend to let us go on vacation with them in their suitcase. But a woman took this seriously and let a child travel in her carry-on bag on an Air France flight from Istanbul to Paris. The woman was in the process of adopting a child but couldn't wait longer to bring her back home. She first tried to travel with her as a passenger, but she was prevented from boarding a flight with her. This is why she decided to hide the girl in a bag and buy another ticket only for herself. Different sources said the child was between 1 and 4 years old, but she was certainly small enough to fit in a little bag. The woman took the carry-on with her, placed the girl at her feet on the plane, and covered her with a blanket. But passengers noticed her when she had to go to the bathroom. Nobody could believe it, and they were talking amongst themselves, shocked by the incident. The woman was later arrested, and the child was found in satisfactory condition. This was probably not the best idea to prove that she could take care of a child in the process of adoption. The cigarettes and the cigars. Smoking was allowed in planes for much longer than you would have thought. It seems crazy to see everyone light up a cigarette when space and air are limited, but in the 50s, it was totally acceptable for people to smoke cigarettes, pipes, and cigars on board. We can't imagine what it was like for all the non-smokers who couldn't breathe fresh air during these long flights. But we bet there weren't too many of them at the time when they thought that cigarettes were healthy. However, people didn't have the right to smoke at a terminal because they were afraid it might ignite the fuel fumes. It's only in the 80s that smoking on short domestic flights was prohibited, and people were not happy to hear this. Then, in 2000, all the flights in the United States finally had to be smoke-free. This is really different than what is happening today. In May 2017, a man was jailed for 9 years and 6 months for smoking in a plane toilet. After throwing the cigarette in the toilet bin, it caught on fire and an emergency landing was considered. The pilot, who had been working in the industry for 20 years, said that he never saw something so dangerous happen. So if you ever thought that smoking on a plane wasn't so bad, we hope that this made you change your mind. The emergency door. Do you know what would happen if someone opened the door of a plane during a flight? The cabin would lose pressure extremely rapidly. Only this is enough to end the lives of all the passengers. Anyone near the exit would suddenly be ejected into the sky and the plane would start to break apart. And these are only some of the horrible things that would happen if someone opened the door mid-flight. So it's surprising to see that people actually tried to do this. During an Air Canada flight, a man attacked the crew with coffee pots and tried to open the door mid-flight. He scared everyone when he said that it would take one guy to take that plane down and he wanted to take everyone with him. The man was quickly arrested, but he is not the only one who will try to do that. It's been reported that 12 Chinese travelers tried opening emergency doors in barely 4 months in 2015. No one understands why this behavior is trending nowadays, and it is certainly scary, but don't worry, their plans are always going to fail. It is simply impossible to open the emergency door during a flight. Cabin pressure won't allow it, so you can be shocked if someone ever has the intention to do that, but you shouldn't be scared for your life. Unusual service animals. We all know that some people need to have a service dog by their side because they suffer from a handicap or a mental disorder. But some people are helped by animals that you don't see every day, and they also have the chance to take them on a plane. For some airlines, all you need is a doctor's note and a service animal registration to take your pet on board. This leads people to bring many animals on the plane, like miniature horses, capuchin monkeys, or goats, and some of them can cause a lot of trouble. A support pig was ejected after it relieved itself in the aisle, just like a therapy turkey who caused trouble. Flight attendants don't even react when they hear that there are 3 service animals on board. They just hope they are not too big. Unfortunately, this leads too many people pretending to be sick only to take their puppy on board. And while some men and women really do need a service animal to be functional, the others are not taking it seriously and can have a negative impact on how those animals are perceived. So don't forget that this is not about fun, but mostly about safety. Have you ever seen something crazy on a plane? Don't be shy to tell us what happened in the comments down below. And that's it for 10 craziest things people have done on planes. If you want to see more stories like this, make sure to watch 10 Secrets Flight Attendants Don't Want You to Know. Thanks for watching.